Hello, welcome back to my channel. My name is Carly Stevens, and this is Carly Stevens Books for all things writing, publishing, and indie author life. So in addition to being an indie author myself of fantasy and a variety of other genres, I also taught high school level English for more than a decade. So my training, my background is all in literature, specifically British literature and poetry. So today's video is all about how to make your poetry, your songs, your prophecies sound more real. I know that many of us fiction writers are not also poets, and if you're not really familiar with poetry, you can fall into some patterns that I've seen quite a bit that make you sound more like an AI than a person. Or if you are old enough to remember those email forwards, those like inspirational email forwards that would sometimes go out, man, most of those were dreadful. So you don't want something that is obvious or dreadful or kind of outs you as a non-poet. So what I'm going to offer you today are some simple tips to add some gravitas, some humanity, some professionalism to your made-up poetry, so you can add that love poem or whatever. So in order to kind of demonstrate what I'm talking about today, I asked ChatGPT to write some poems for me. Two poems. One about a prophecy about the fall of Troy. So if you write epic fantasy, for example, you might have some sort of poetic prophecy, an old book that people reference that goes in the beginnings of chapters, for example. So I wanted to see what ChatGPT would come up with for something like that, and then a love poem as well. I would highly discourage using ChatGPT or any other AI software to actually write the poetry for you. Not only is it going to lack that humanity, but I think that there are some ethical issues with presenting something else's work as your own. So there are lots of legitimate uses for AI. I'm not going to demonize it as a whole. I think it's a tool that can be used well, but when it starts to invent your creative work, then I think we get into some problems. But that is a discussion for another day that I probably won't get into in depth. So what I'm here to show you is how not to sound like an AI, how to sound like an established poet, even if you're not. If you are a poet out there, then these are some sort of basic recommendations, but really it's for those fiction writers that just want something to sound established and real instead of surfacey and fake. So tip number one, don't be 100% literal. There is a temptation when you are not a poet or used to reading and studying a lot of poetry to write out exactly, literally what you want to say, right? So whether that's prophecy, whether that's a love poem, what have you, sometimes people will just write that out, try to get it to rhyme, and then call that a day. That is not really poetry, that's just prose that you've randomly chopped off and, rhymed together. So in order to make your poetry sound more real, consider adding some more poetic elements. So that can be an extended metaphor, that can be some repetition, that can be some personification. I actually have several videos on my other channel, English Nerd, that I'll link down below, that cover a variety of poetic devices that can add some depth to your poetry. It's not just a paragraph that kind of got chopped up. Instead, it has more poetic devices. There's a little bit of reading between the lines that needs to happen. Now, you may point to some poets like Anne Sexton, for example, who will sometimes write something that could be put into a paragraph, and it's, there's some literalness there. Poetry, uses things like where the line break ends in order to add more depth of meaning to whatever's going on. So it still is not just literal, but there are, other poetic devices that maybe you're not aware that you could use, like where the line ends and kind of where the thought breaks off. What does that piece of information make us think of? Maybe it's misdirecting us, and then the next line kind of takes us back. So a variety of things that you can do there to create that sense of poeticism and not just another paragraph that got chopped up in approximately the same spot every time. Something that did not surprise me in the least when I asked AI to write some poetry was the rhyme scheme. So tip number 2 is to remember that there are more rhyme schemes than just using couplets. If I see it in a book, a couplet style rhyme scheme, often I can tell that it's somebody who's not used to writing poetry, who's very uncomfortable with the medium, who is basically an amateur at writing poetry. Are there legitimate poems that use couplets? Couplets are just 2 lines that rhyme with each other, and then the next 2 lines rhyme with each other. Of course, yes, all of Alexander Pope's work is comprised of couplets. The man was obsessed. So if you're writing something that's set in England in the 1700s, then yes, use couplets for sure. But also it has this very sing-songy quality, almost a nursery rhyme kind of cadence to it that can out you as just not really understanding that there are a variety of rhyme schemes that you can use that are just as simple, but maybe a little bit elevated to put up some smoke and mirrors that you are, a quote unquote real poet, and this is a real song, a real prophecy, what have you. So consider, instead of just having couplets, so A, B, B, that's the way that rhyme schemes are notated. It's by using letters to indicate which, the end of which lines rhyme with one another. So A, those 2 lines would rhyme with one another. B, B, those 2 lines would rhyme with each other. Instead of doing that, think about another pattern like A, B, every other line rhyming. Even something as simple as that can elevate your poetry to another level. A couple other notes for rhyming. I'm gonna get into one of my biggest quibbles here in the next big point, but some tips for rhyming. Rhyming words do not need to look like one another. This is actually something that AI got right once. You can see these 2 don't look like each other, but words like cough and off, they don't look like each other, but they sound like one another, so those do actually rhyme. You can also have sight rhymes, where things do look like each other, exactly like each other, but don't sound like each other. That is a legitimate way to rhyme in the poetic community. Just be careful with words that look close but not quite. So words like languid and liquid don't rhyme, or don't rhyme well, because we have the Q sound and the G sound. Both the consonants and the vowels should rhyme at the end there. So Jupiter, bitter, and fritter do rhyme, even though they're kind of an unlikely pairing. So just some thoughts about different ways that you can rhyme and ways that you should perhaps avoid. If you have questions about a particular set of words and whether they are a decent rhyme, you can put that down below and I'll give you my 2 cents on that. So I have studied, I have analyzed, I've taught poetry. I'm not a poet myself, so I know that there are some creative ways that you can rhyme outside the box. However, what I often see with people who are not used to rhyming or writing poetry are these very simple rhymes with the simplest rhyme scheme, and it comes across as very elementary, especially when you're trying to show that this is some sort of ancient poem. It's not going to come across that way if you're using the simplest rhymes in the simplest ways. So simple mix-up, just basic mix-up with the rhyme scheme or the types of rhymes that you're using can be enough to go, oh, okay, this seems established. So along with the idea of rhyming, which many, especially not professional poets, kind of associate with all poetry, is that people will add syllables to get to that rhyme. This is one of the biggest giveaways that people don't really know what they're doing poetically. The biggest giveaway is the number of syllables in a line. If you want your poem to look like something that has a lot of structure, then the number of syllables per line should be uniform as well. You can't just add some things to reach that rhyme at the end. This is something that AI did. It gives it away as this sort of elementary tool for writing poetry. So in order to avoid awkwardly adding those syllables, those pieces of sound. So if it's been a while since you've been in English class, syllable has 3 syllables. Carly Stevens. So it's those pieces of sound, right, that you want to have be uniform. Technically, most poetry is going to have a meter as well, a pattern of stressed and unstressed syllables. Because you are not a poet, nor are you striving to be a poet, I assume if you're watching this video, it's more like some tips, some hacks to make something sound more real. I'm not going to get into all of the intricacies of meter and all of that. However, what you can do is have the same number of syllables per line. Really common style is to have 10 syllables per line. So, shall I compare thee to a summer's day? There's 10, right? A lot of Shakespeare does this. Sonnets almost all do this. If you look at poetry that is very, very structured, often they'll do this. So count out the syllables and see, do they actually match up, or are you awkwardly adding some more? So again, here's that example from AI that awkwardly added a few more syllables just to get to that rhyme at the end, which shows that it's not as organized or professional as a human poet would make it. All right, a final note about creating your own poetry, songs, prophecies for your work is that if you're writing in an actual historical era from a real place, then there are some additional things to keep in mind. So you're not going to use 90s slang if you're writing a poem that is set in the 1800s. That didn't exist then. But on a deeper level, some words didn't exist, or they didn't exist in that way. So if you are writing in a particular era, I'm not going to get into all of that. There are a lot of different intricacies and whatnot, but read a couple of poems, even pieces of poems from that time and place to kind of get a sense of the sound, the types of phrasing, that sort of thing. If you have a particular question about this, especially from, again, English poetry, because that is my area of, I wouldn't say full expertise, but I definitely have studied a lot of British poetry, then put your questions down below. I can give you a couple of just basic tips. I already mentioned the 1700s loved a couplet because of its quotability. You could memorize it really easily and sound witty at the salons. So if you want just a couple of really simple trends like that, then I can give them to you if you are writing some British inspired poetry. But do a little bit of due diligence. I'm not saying that you need to sound like John Donne in order to come across professionally in your writing, but I've seen time and time again those awkward extra syllables. It's always couplets, it's always simple rhymes, and I can tell immediately that this was either written by AI, or written by somebody who was very uncomfortable with writing poetry. So I hope this is helpful for you as you are adding that extra level of world building and, or whatever the case may be to your story. I think having poetic elements can be such an immersive thing in fantasy, in historical, in a lot of different genres. So good luck. I hope this wasn't discouraging. I wanted it to be something that really helped you out. If you have questions, like I said, put those down below. I'll help as I am able to with my 2 cents as somebody who studied a lot of poetry. All right, best of luck. If you want more resources, you can head on over to carly-stevens.com and you'll find some additional resources for authors there. There are a lot of videos on this channel, of course. Make sure to subscribe if you're interested, like this video if you like it, and I'll see you next week.